Okay, I finally made it on here. I had to figure out how to get on here. I want to welcome everybody to my live stream. I know that it looks kind of crazy here, but anyway, this is my first live stream, as you can obviously tell. I want to welcome everybody that's here today. I don't see anybody in the Q&A. If you want to, if you're here, please let us know in the Q&A. Say hi. I'm here. This is where I'm from. So if you would be so kind as to do that, I would really appreciate it. Okay. Well, thank you for being here today. I want to welcome you. And my name is Donna Brown. My pen name is Signet Brown. So you will see me as either Signet Brown or Donna Brown, either one. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter which one you see me as, because I'm both. The reason I use the name Signet Brown is because Signet is a baby swan, and my maiden name was Swanson. So Signet Brown even my mom liked the name. So, it's kind of fun. Today we're going to compare traditional publishing with self-publishing, and why I chose self-publishing over traditional publishing. Well, you all know the dream. I'm sure you all have that dream of publishing a book. That's why you're here. And if you're anything like me, this is the way it was for me when I first thought about writing and publishing a book. I thought I would send my book to a traditional publisher, and that they would love my book, and that they would whisk me off my feet from here in the Midwest and whisk me over to New York City in a fancy jet, going first class, being wined and dined and given a contract, and within a couple months, having my book out and going on book tours all over the country. And even so, traditional publishers know that is usually not the case. Although I have known people that this has happened with. However, it wasn't a couple months. It was more like a couple years before she had her book published and had it on the market. And that was my friend was Laura McHugh, who she actually had a bidding war for her book, and she got a really good deal, and she's been all over the country and speaking at different places and whatever. So I just got a shout out to Laura today. So we all have that dream, right? And for most of us, that's not going to happen. And there's a lot of things with traditional publishing that's the problem. First of all, it takes a lot longer than a couple months to get your book published. It takes up to 2 years a lot of times after they've accepted your book. So you could, be on the querying journey for months and months, only to find out that you have to wait another 2 years before your book is actually published. And also in the meantime, you're apt to get asked for edits. So you end up with, once they've accepted the book, they say, well, we like your book, but we want to what was I gonna say? We want to make we want you to change this a little bit. We want you to change, this character, or we want you to change your title, or we want you to change this or that. And it's up to you as because you've signed a contract to make the changes that they want you to make. So there's a lot of editing that goes on, a lot of changes that'll happen. And then sometimes they'll have, because you're a new author and they've never seen you before, what they'll do is they'll put your book out on not to put your book out, but they'll ask you to, no, they'll demand that you go out on your own, and they'll give you places that they want you to go on at your own expense to because you're not really proven. Also, before they'll even accept you, a lot of times what they'll ask for is that you have a large audience. Um, I was I decided rather than go this route, I decided to go self-publishing, right from the beginning. And when I was out on my first book tour, I met with Daniel Woodrell's wife. Daniel Woodrell's the author of Winter's Bones, and I met his wife at my book signing, and we were talking about how traditional publishers are not all. I mean, how he didn't make a lot of money on the book. The movie people did, and some of the people who played in the movie did, but he didn't get, he wasn't that as important as some of the characters and whatnot were. So I was kind of relieved when I realized that I probably took the best route for me as a self-publisher. So what are some of the advantages of being a self-publisher? Let me look this up just a second here. Okay. Okay, so self-publishing is where you decide. I like the fact that as a self-publisher, I can decide exactly what it is how I want to do my book. I can decide my titles. I can decide the cover. With traditional publishing, a lot of times you can't do that. You can't decide that I don't like the cover with these two people intermeshed. I can decide that I don't want, and I have decided that I don't want any cussing in my book. I've decided that I don't want um, any overt sex in my books. A little kissing or whatever is one thing, but as far as being a voyeur, forget it. I'm not going to do that, and I wouldn't be a voyeur in natural life, and I'm not going to become a voyeur in a book either. Um, so anyway, let me look some more. Um, as I'm writing my books, as a self-publisher, I keep in mind the fact that I'm going to be marketing my book. So I know that there's certain things that I want to put out there, whether you're and whether I'm whether you're actually going to go down the traditional route or the self-publishing route, you still want to have I want to show that you know what your book's about. For the traditional publisher, you're going to be doing querying, and with querying, you're going to want to put out that you don't want to tell your story. So by writing this out in the beginning, I like to start before I even write my book. I start with the blurb. I start with the summary of what the book's about. This keeps me on track of my goal, and it also keeps me able to. It also gives me a starting point for later advertising material, marketing material that I'm going to be using. Um, Also, as a self-publisher, like I said, so it's a good idea to start your writing process as if you were going to be a self-publisher, because you never know. You may not find, if you're looking for a traditional publisher, you may not find one. Editing is a huge point that needs to be made with whether you're self-publishing or traditional publishing. Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whatsoever whether you're self-publishing or actively publishing in, whether you're publishing with a traditional publisher, you're still going to get edits, and you still need to do editing. You need to start out by editing yourself, because a traditional publisher isn't going to take a look at your book, and if it's not well written, if it's not well um, edited, if it's not well proofread, they're not even going to look at it. Gone are the days when they'll take a crappy written book and rewrite it for you. You've got to, they don't have time for that. And they're looking, I mean, let's face it, the traditional publisher is looking at the bottom line as much as you are. And if you're publishing a book, okay, it may cost a little bit of money up front. You might need to pay for your cover. You might pay when you definitely want to pay for somebody that knows what they're doing to do your final edits. You can do editing and editing and editing, and whether your edit is well done or not well done uh, by yourself, you're going to discover that there's things in there that you didn't know that you didn't. I mean, you're not going to see everything because you're too familiar with your book. So, once you've edited it edited your book to the point where you can't edit anymore, it's time to put it off onto somebody else to go over it. You may choose to try beta readers, people that understands how a book's supposed to be, people that like to read, often that could be a beta reader. You could, before you send it to a professional editor. There are some beta readers out there that charge, but if you might be able to find a few friends that are willing to, that know how to read and know and know about writing, can decide, can look through your book and say, yeah, this needs work and that needs work. They have to be willing to do that and not just say, oh, I loved it, it was great. And it's like, yeah, it might be great, but where can improvements be? If they can't give you improvements, then other than just proofreading, then you probably should find other beta readers. So once you got your book edited, your manuscript, excuse me, once you've got your book manuscript written the way you want it to be, it's time to start considering who you're going to get to publish a book for you. There's a lot of companies out there right now that do print on demand, and they do ebooks. Amazon's not the only one out there. So I would look around and see what's the best fit for you. There's Amazon, there's Draft to Digital, there's Ingram Spark. I started out with Lulu.com, and it worked really well for me for a while. And then I since then switched because of technical errors I was having with that. But it was me, not the company, I don't think. So I went from there to I went into and then there's the aspect of once you've figured out who you're going to do your marketing or do your publish your book and maybe do on print on demand, which is really inexpensive. I mean, actually it's free to begin with, but you want to go into marketing, and this is probably where you're going to want to spend most of your time and your money is in the marketing aspects of your book. And it's the part that's going to be the hardest for many writers. I know it's not the easiest. It hasn't been the easiest for me, and so, but what the big thing that it involves in publishing is that, or in marketing, you'll want to put out your what's that called? With your marketing, you're going to want to excuse me. Anyway, with your marketing, you're going to want to study up on how to market your material. A lot of times, people want to just write. They don't want to market, and they want to find somebody else to market for them. And sadly, that usually costs you more than it helps you. A lot of places want money up front. They want their business up front. They want you to pay them, and then they'll take your money, and then they won't do anything. They might, put your book on their website or on their, their sales page, and that's about it. That's all they do. Or they might put it in their catalog. A couple of years ago, I spent $150 to put a book in a catalog, and I did get a uptick in some book sales, but I didn't get any real sales from that. I didn't make back the money I paid in with that. And I think we as authors should be expecting at least the return of our money from that. We should expect a guarantee, from their from any company that we work with. I just think that's only fair. If they can't deliver, then they shouldn't take us on as a client, rather than just, taking our money and saying, okay, sorry, we can't guarantee anything. Well, you know what, if you can't guarantee it, I can't pay you either, So that's where I stand as far as that goes. So there's three different stages, and we've covered those pretty much. There's three basic stages to the writing process for a self-publisher. The first one, of course, is writing your book, getting it to a publishable quality. And then the second part is the actual publishing process, and that includes, you need to know things like your metadata, where this book is going to be in that for distribution. Okay, like where are you going to have it? Another thing you want to do is make sure that you have the right cover for the book. You want it well done up. A lot of the programs that they have out there for publishing, they have a built-in book creator, and I like to use those. It's a good one for the first book or so, because you want to save money where you can, but you also want quality. And I found that I have no complaints in the quality of my covers from the companies that I've worked with. You just got to follow their instructions, and have a good cover picture. You want to have a good blurb. With your blurb, you want to have a hook in your blurb, excuse me, where it brings in what draws the reader into into that little blurb. Okay, and then at the end of the blurb, you want to have a thing that drives them to purchase the book, so that because you want them to remember that, you want them to know that, hey, this is a book, and based on what you read there, do you want this or not? So Okay. Okay, in my future videos, I'm going to be doing some deep diving into different aspects of this of marketing and publishing and book writing. And in November, I intend to do for a novel. Okay, for a novel, I plan on doing um, a day to day recommendation on how you can write a book in 30 days without and just write the first draft of a book in 30 days. And I'll show you, some aspects of how to do that. Um, different aspects of doing that. So I hope to see some of you then. In the meantime, um, until the next time, um, thank you for joining me on this my first live stream. Bye.